No, I wasn't having technical difficulties. No, no, everything was fine. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm kidding. It is what it is. What's up? Hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. Gonna do a show real quick. I wanted to do this show because, as you know, whenever you visit the channel or really hear me talk for that matter, you know I always enjoy talking about talk shows. And I realize that a lot of people are very quick to say, like, oh, network TV is not my thing. And I get that part of it too. But you know what? As I get older, I think about the there's different platforms now for sure. Things are 15 seconds on TikTok, but at the same time, um, I think about what inspired me and in terms of my like radio career, this or that, or this wonderful YouTube channel. For me, it was always those wonderful, wonderful talk shows. So I will make a judgment and say, what? Drew Barrymore? She has a show. Uh, Jennifer Hudson has a show. Wow, Sherry Shepherd. I'll have opinions. Actually, one of the episodes I did sort of recently was talking about how Ryan Seacrest, for the most part, did kind of have to go. It was definitely his time. I don't really know that he created too much on that show. I like Kelly Ripa a lot, and not everyone does. And how Mark Consuelos, in my opinion, just in my opinion, and we'll talk about it. He was a really good host. Like he made sense to the show, or is going to make sense. Like I know it's still new, but I have a prediction that it's going to be successful. You just need to wait. But anyways, as I was saying, because I love talk shows, I thought actually it kind of came from with the pop culture space. You just kind of recap and commentate on whatever feels good to you. And again, I love talk shows. I've talked about it quite a bit. But I was watching, and let me see, do we have the photo available? I was watching it was in regards to James Corden and his show ending. Let me see, where is so I believe this is the last episode, and even the photo itself, I'm like, are we just giving lackluster vibes? Like, I mean, Harry Styles, of course, is a superstar. Um, Will Ferrell, people do enjoy. Elf does not move me in any way. I mean, Will Ferrell on SNL was okay, but I'm not like Step Brothers. No, 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 not for me. Which is fine because there's something for everybody. But what I'm saying is, I was searching through the YouTube space and I was like, let's watch this full episode. And for whatever reason, I guess it was uploaded, probably not from the people at the Late Late Show, but it was there. So I watched it and I was like, this cannot be your ending show. Um, it's easy to be critical, so I don't want to be this person who's like just making commentary, but not also bringing ideas or whatever. But I think of that spot, and for some reason, it just hasn't really worked. I don't know, like Craig Ferguson. I think Craig Kilborn, if you could remember, which I didn't even know this, but my brother told me. Craig Kilborn, which was a host years ago in that same time slot on CBS, that always was really fun to me. If you go back, you could see, like, you remember the artist Dido? She had that song, "We'll Wave This White Flag," but da 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 da. Really cool song of the time. And then she sang on the Eminem song too. Like she'd have the cutest moment and rapport with Craig Kilborn. And so when I look for talk shows, that's what I want. To me, and I say this when I recap reality TV as well, all the bells and whistles, it's all about being compelling. I would like to think, and again, hopefully you don't judge too heavily, I would like to think I'm compelling at what I do. That's been the goal. And you know what? Not every day is going to be easy. Like I said, I started the episode, technical difficulties, but we are here. Things are going to go the way they're going to go. One thing to note too is I want to break down in this episode, I want to break down what I think of, see, I'm forgetting his name already. James Corden, his contribution, his artistic, his resume going into the show and what he did with it and what he will probably be doing. And then I want to talk a little bit about like this. I'm just going to scratch the surface. You in the comments could actually give me your opinion because I am not as much. I mean, I don't mind watching the Daily Show, and I didn't mind watching it with Jon Stewart or Trevor Noah, but that's not exactly my level of expertise, but I appreciate it. So we'll talk about maybe some people who could fill into that. And he's also like, what is the goal for that show. Like, are they gonna make a shift? Like, you really just don't know. So those two things, and again, Kelly Ripa, Mark Consuelos, I want to talk about that. Ryan Seacrest gone. So it's the episode is really about our pal here, James Corden, and it's just kind of untangling some of the other things in the talk show space, just because I do love talk shows. Obviously, nowadays people would say a podcast is even more compelling and more, not compelling, but more eyeballs than even TV. But I always have a soft spot in my heart with 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 television. I feel like it's still a little bit of an achievement. It's a great career. There's so much with it. So that's what we'll talk about today. I suppose before we talk about anything, I should just kind of let you know a little bit about myself, but I'm not going to do that myself. I am going to let creator of Mastermind Media, who was one of the consultants on my YouTube and podcast projects, because there's so many. I'll let Mark take it away and give you about 60 seconds of what I got going on, and then we'll come back.
Well, hello there. Thank you for watching and supporting the show with my good friend, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Who the hell am I? Great question. My name is Mark Rodriguez with Mastermind Media, and I wanted to take just a moment of your time to let you know about all the other incredible things this guy, Randomly Ronnie Jr. has going on. But first, before we get into that, please comment, like, and subscribe. That is how he grows here on these channels. But one channel you probably don't know about is patreon.com/randomly Ronnie Jr., where he's got a bunch more exclusive content. So please check that out. But speaking of YouTube, let's go back to YouTube for a second. He's got this hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr., and it shows all of his stuff in his days in radio from back in the day, all the way up to present day, and his new interviews, podcasts, just videos across the board. So please check that out, because when you think about content creators, there's millions of content creators, but there's only one, Randomly Ronnie Jr. Let's get back into the show.
Okay, let's get back into the show. Thank you, Mark. Mark has done a ton of great projects throughout his career. And right now he's at the helm of Mastermind Media, and it's going really well. And he's always a motivator and supporter of the stuff that I've done, which, my career has had all the ups and downs. Oh, yes. But you just got to keep going. That's the thing. You got to keep going. So let's talk about James Corden. So the first thing that I think is important to say is I really, and I'm not the Broadway baby, I don't know all the things, but Angela Bassett did the thing. A little nod to Ariana DeBose. I do think that James Corden holds his own in so many different artistic ways, okay? And he's been there in really monumental and important times, hosting the Tony Awards. And anytime he contributes to anything like that, I feel like he really comes alive. It almost feels like the talk show didn't really give him that, but something within more of a performance space maybe does. The talk show is interesting because you, in theory, think that you have, sort of a lot to go off of in terms of segments and bits and skits, but it might not really be that much. The network and all the creative powers that be, they might limit it, and they got to be packaged in a certain way. So I guess the first thing we'll do is we'll talk about, and you could say which ones are your favorites, throw that in the comments. Who, I guess there was a kind of a recent one that kind of got busy online, which was Bad Bunny's Carpool Karaoke. But over the course of all of them, my question to you is, who was the Carpool Karaoke that you loved? Did you love it as much as other people? It really had a splash. In terms of segments, it was very much something that, like, I think Jimmy Fallon did this really early on. He found little segments that worked. I mean, I guess at the time you would call it like for that young college crowd or whatever. Now it's like millennials or even younger that they aim for. But Jimmy Fallon, which I am also, as shocking as it is to see that Drew Barrymore continues to get success, I mean, it's shocking to me. Jimmy Fallon still keeps on winning, but I've never, I don't really hear a lot of attention around his show. But, obviously if Lorne Michaels is at the helm of that, you've got him from SNL and, probably a great work relationship too, which I have learned is half the battle. It's not just the success. I mean, ratings and numbers are the bottom line, but there's also power players that can. I don't know. Does Jimmy Fallon work for you? To me, there's a joke from a show on Difficult People in regards to Jimmy Fallon and his asinine segments. Difficult People was Julie Klausner and Billy Eichner. It was very funny. It was very like piss and vinegar. Anyways, they had made a joke. I'm not going to like re-mention it because I won't take anyone else's joke, but go watch that series because they had a really funny joke of how Carson Daly, how Johnny Carson would react to just the asinine, stupid segments that Jimmy Fallon does, and that he laughs at every comment. I mean, to me, he really doesn't move the needle, but there is a great big world out there, so maybe Jimmy Fallon is good for somebody. Okay, anyway, so what I'm saying is James Corden, damn, everyone got the same name. James Corden, to me, really knocked it out the park with the Carpool Karaoke. I personally was like, it's okay, but it's not that exciting. Now, if I had to list one, the one that was the most exciting to me, obviously, if you know me, you know my show, you know how I give it up. It's always about that queen, Jennifer Lopez. So J-Lo's was funny. I think in the Carpool Karaoke there, they they got her cell phone, and James Corden was like, oh, let's text somebody, and they were gonna text Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was just funny. It was warm. It was J-Lo talking in the J-Lo vernacular. And then James Corden's like, oh, I'll answer like this, and she's like, I would never say that, so it was funny in that way. She gave a waiting for tonight moment, which was wonderful. Of course, James Corden, his physical comedy is really, really good. So I'm interested to see where his career will go. But I guess the number one question that I'm asking here today is, were you that impressed by Carpool Karaoke? And I think one of the things that happens is when you're trying to build a show, I mean, I have not been to that level, but I've had some TV appearances, of course, I always tell you, and a lot of radio, over well over 15 years at this point. But when you're trying to build something, sometimes it's like a good and a bad thing when you could have lightning in a bottle. So I think that Carpool Karaoke was lightning in a bottle, but then like maybe there were other segments that didn't get really fully put together. Because it seemed like for a while it was like James Corden was hot, with the Carpool Karaoke, but it's limiting. You know what I mean? It's not that, well, I don't know. Then we get TikTok and Instagram and all those things, and the lip syncing type stuff. I guess to people is funny. It's not for me. I am a long form content person. I always say I will watch an hour or listen to an hour podcast or video podcast and think nothing of it. I will devote my time to that. I will allocate the time and check it out on a walk, or I'll check it out on well, hopefully the treadmill, but things have been a little slow, but I'm doing my best. Versus I will do that. I will check out an hour of my time. If the content is good, if the creator is good, if the podcast host is good, if the talk show host is good, versus a lot of people also think that they're saving time because they're like, oh, I just like the 60-second clips. I do not. Half the times, like if I were to click on those things, it doesn't really I need more. You know what I mean? And I understand that in the creative endeavor, you should always keep people wanting more. But I find that I personally feel, I think that people go on, I think they scroll probably 60 times. So when it's all said and done, you've wasted an hour. So you think you've shortcutted it or whatever. And you don't like long form content, which everyone can like what they like. I mean, I like reality TV, so I'm not going to be telling anyone what they should enjoy. Housewives, Drag Race, all of it. Let's go. Love and Hip Hop when it was good. Netflix. Do I like Netflix? Oh, I like Selling the OC. I didn't like Selling Sunset at all. I gave Selling Tampa a try, and it was good, but they canceled it too early, which kind of upset me. Selling the OC, though, is the cast. They are so good. Anyway, I'm saying everyone has their prerogative to do what they want with their time. For me, always about long form content. And beyond that, it's about good content. Rushing to get a clip that's so amazing and cutting it to 60 seconds, half the time it's just a little flashy promo, a promotional asset that doesn't really give you the full story. I don't like that. Me personally, I don't like that. So even I engage you who does watch my show and you watch it in its entirety, thank you. Because in my opinion, I work really hard to give something to think of ideas where we're going to go. Like I said, we're going to talk about James Corden, talk shows in general, Ryan leaving, Mark and Kelly, how I love them together. Jimmy Kimmel, when is his time to wrap up the show? He's good, but I believe there was the rumblings, or has he already made an official announcement that he's leaving? Doesn't really matter. But we'll also talk about some people who not premiered. What would be the word? Let me drink my glass of water. 1 second. People that tested on the Jimmy Kimmel show, that who knows, what the future is for that show, but some of the people tested so well, I'm like, oh, CBS, you should go look at that. Let me see. Let's throw up a photo of Jimmy Kimmel. I need a drink of water. 1 second. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. My photos are all out of order. There we go. No, that's not him either. Oh, man. See, I tried to do a good episode and I can't even get it right. There he is. See, everything doesn't always work to your advantage. Anyways, there's Jimmy Kimmel. I'm staying on James Corden. I'm going to finish a couple more thoughts, but I will say one thing I like about Jimmy Kimmel, he comes from radio. And, I always tell you that I come from radio. Here's a little, radio, television, some of the stuff I've done over the years. You see Kim Kardashian in their original face. I mean, that's amazing. Kevin Hart, when he was not making the money he's making, Nicki Minaj, Paris Hilton, just a lot of things, Okay. A lot of experiences, but no, I always say that I have a soft spot in my heart for the people who worked in radio and then transitioned into television. I just think it's a different skill set. Lala Vasquez or Lala Anthony, when she was on TRL, she came from radio. Carson Daly came from radio. When I have my wonderfully huge show, whatever that'll be, television or some major streaming platform, I'm surprised Netflix isn't throwing a check at me like, get it together, Netflix. I will also be somebody who came from radio. But anyways, let's get back into it. I want to say one more thing about James Corden. So James Corden is generally good. I don't know where he will go directionally. There was a couple of articles that had come out recently saying that his show was losing tons of money, so that production versus the return on investment was probably starting to be a thing. So we would like to think, and we would like to hope, that it was his decision to leave the show. We would like to think that, but it might have been other variables. Either way, he should stand with his head held high. He, I believe, is moving back home and will have a huge, wonderful career. And we have no time to worry about James Corden. He will be okay. If anything, if you worry about James Corden, donate to my Patreon. Thank you. How does that add up? That doesn't add up, but today it does. Last thing on James Corden, Carpool Karaoke. The only reason I'll give it a pass, I said it was okay, but it was a little lackluster to me, just to me. But he's funny, so I do give that. What I loved about Carpool Karaoke is at the very least, it came from an organic place in that it was George Michael, when James Corden, before he came to do his show here in the States, he did some type of charity, not event, or a fundraiser would be the word, I believe. And that was George Michael doing a version of what became Carpool Karaoke. So anytime a segment becomes organic and then, gets the light of day and a lot of success, I am still happy. And George Michael, to lose him so early, and it had been announced recently, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that George Michael will be an inductee. So that will be a wonderful George Michael celebrating his legacy. Tougher, good, but also a tougher life along the way. And either way, I think it's like great to still honor him, So getting off of James Corden, I think what I want to do is I want to talk about people. And again, I watched this last episode and I was like, what is going on? This is just not that interesting. But again, you have your prerogative to say my show's not that interesting. No harm, no foul. It is what it is. Okay, so since I already put this photo up on accident, I'm just going to throw a bunch of names really quickly that I think, this will be like our casting process. You could weigh into, you could put a comment, who would be a good talk show host, okay? So this is just more of a surprise. So I'll put this up. I was very shocked, but in a good way. Rob McElhenney, is that how you say the last name? From Always Sunny in Philadelphia, filled in on Jimmy Kimmel. He was fantastic. He's got the current momentum because he's doing a show with Blake Lively's husband. What's his name? Ryan. I know his name from the show. And from all the movies. Ryan. There's so many Ryans. Blake Lively's husband. Anyways, Rob McElhenney, something like that. He did a really good job. And typically I'm not like, oh, just give an actor another shot. You know what I mean? Like, don't just, usually I'm like, come on, the networks or all the powers that be, the suits, like it gets very recycled. Everything's the same. How many shows and commercials do we need to see Kevin Hart? I mean, really. So I normally am not like, oh, he's an established name, but the thing is, he has a successful career. But I mean, there's room to grow. There's definitely room to grow, and I am very much interested to see if he would be somebody that would be of interest to take on a show. So that's just one opinion. Let's see. I'm just going to go down the row here and see what is listed. Oh, see, I'm taking all my ideas from Jimmy Kimmel. So I used to love the show Desus and Mero, which, it originated, like, I believe on MTV2, and then it was at Complex, and then it was on Viceland, and it was on Showtime. And there was a break in the union of the two, which, then starts to beg the question, like, who's going to be the breakout success? Having a show on Showtime is so fantastic, but then you sort of end the show based on, I guess you would say, creative differences within themselves. The two of them never really talked about it, but I'm sure it'll come out at some point. But Desus is having a moment, and one thing too, when I talk about the casting, like I'm using this moment as a casting ideas, casting options, I'm just throwing out names. I'm not necessarily saying fill in for James Corden, fill in for Trevor Noah's The Daily Show. I mean, mostly for like who would be a good talk show host. The Daily Show is a little different because you do have to speak to the language of the satirical like politics and current events and stuff like that, which is a different thing. But anyways, just talk show in general, I feel like Desus, it's his time. So I'm watching, hoping. I loved what they did with the project, with the Desus and Mero project, and I feel like it's momentum is there now, and hopefully somebody could snag him up. If it's not, something like the Late Late Show, maybe it's the Late Show. So either way, we will see where that goes. Moving right along, I'm just going to pitch out names that I think are fantastic, and again, that's what you could do too. They probably already have somebody in line. I mean, actually, it's probably Kevin Hart that's gonna get yet another TV show, TV show, movie. Doesn't he do the Capital One commercial? It's a lot. It's a lot for Kevin Hart. So yeah, for all we know, Kevin Hart or Nick Cannon, who they have a show on E together now. Again, it's all the same. It's all the same. And there's so many wonderful, talented people out there. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm not going to knock anybody. If there's an announcement tomorrow, who's going to fill in for the Daily Show, wonderful. If there's an announcement tomorrow, who's going to get the James Corden show, wonderful. If there's an announcement tomorrow on who's going to eventually take over for Jimmy Kimmel, also wonderful. But I just want to put out names that I think are amazing. So because I'm a radio freak, I just love radio so much. He is a bit of the godfather of radio. New York City's Elvis Duran. He grew up in Texas. He, to me, I don't think he wants the opportunity or would want the opportunity. I believe I've heard him over the years talk about like he's had more options to continue things. Like he used to do like a Today Show new music hit or something like that. But it feels like based on, we're all, nobody's getting younger. It's feeling like he wants to possibly slow down just a little bit. So that maybe would not be the thing. But hey, maybe transitioning out of radio and into television. He has it. I mean, of course, he's been on Z100 for all these years. I read his book, and it's always really cool to see people navigate. As much as I love Carson Daly, because I love Carson Daly, love Carson Daly. I'm obsessed with his delivery, because a lot of times people think Carson Daly's so just like chill or whatever, or not lackadaisical, but his delivery is what it is. But the reality is that is a skill set in itself, and he makes it feel very connected. I mean, obviously he had his like heyday, but I mean, he's still making tons of money. He's on that Today Show all the time. He's on The Voice, although I don't think they use him on The Voice as much as they should, but that might be because he's a little too busy. To which I say, Carson, give me a call. I will step in and I will, not be your replacement, but I'll help you out. I'll fill in on the off days. But just as a note, again, Elvis Duran, in my opinion, network executives should be looking at him for this or for something else. I feel like Elvis Duran, if he did anything in television or continue to do things in television, like I said, he's done stuff. I feel like he'd want to do more of a limited series. That's just my opinion. And I think like it's so funny because when I was younger, I used to think, do it all. And even as I'm getting older, I'm no spring chicken. I am over 40 years old. I know I look so fucking good. It's like shocking. But as you get older, priorities change. It's still all about work and ambition and everything. We're going to go through this quick. I mean, she's had a talk show on the E! Channel, I believe. I don't believe it got its right timing. And I also don't believe that she wants to really go into that field. I think she's kind of been heartbroken by the industry. She was just on a series as an actress recently. Whitney Cummings is who I'm speaking of. And I've really taken to her comedy over the years. And for the most part, I've really taken to her podcast, which is called Good For You. First of all, my favorite little side note about Whitney Cummings, she is a wordsmith in terms of grammar. She knows a ton of words. She says, what does she say? Oh my God, I'm talking about a ton of words and I can't even get one word out. But it's something about, within, little struggles that she had growing up, language was so important to her. Words were important to her. And I mean, I think that makes sense in her writing style as a comic, and, seeing something and really diving into it and looking at it from different perspectives. I think if you have tons of wonderful grammar, you can do that in a way that others can't. She's very smart, very smart. She always comes off a little bit more like maybe, I don't know if the term would be like she's a girl's guy, right? No, a guy's girl. Yeah, whatever. She has that about her. Again, I think she would be good at it. I just don't know if this is where she'd want to go directionally. But in terms of being like sort of like a fill-in part-time thing, yeah, that's different. But if they gave her the late show, I mean, I believe it. I believe it would win. She's had success with her talk. She had her own show called Whitney, which she's made a lot of like self-deprecating jokes about that. But she had, she was behind one of the creative forces behind the Two Broke Girls. Why is it escaping me? And I just think she'd be wonderful going down the road. So this is a little lesser of a name. Of course, people do know him, Christopher Rivas. Christopher Rivas, what I like about him is he was on a sitcom that I love. I know lots of people don't really love sitcoms like I do, but it's warm-hearted, I love a good sitcom. But anyways, Christopher Rivas was on Call Me Kat alongside Mayim Bialik. I'm obsessed with Mayim Bialik. In fact, if she can do Jeopardy, the Bialik breakdown, Call Me Kat, and do the Late Show, or shoot, if she could do the Daily Show, or shoot, if she could do the Jimmy Kimmel spot, I'm all for Mayim Bialik. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about Christopher Rivas. He's got a book that really chronicles him and the Latino community in general, and all the spaces or even challenges within the Latinx communities. And I feel like he is like, he's fun, he's witty, but he's also like really, he lends his voice. I mean, the thing is, when you go to Twitter, when you go to Instagram, you're as much as you are you. but at the same time, you're also as much of you as you are your messaging and your platform and what to do with it. And I really like what Christopher Rivas is doing. Obviously, he is good on the eyes. I mean, we see what we see. Come on, Christopher Rivas. We looking at you. Oh my God. Just saying all the things. But yeah, Christopher Rivas, I like the choice because I like the idea of, again, already has success, but I always love the idea. I don't know why I know why, top billing and marketing and all these things, but I don't like that the networks always create shows around like somebody who is already a superstar. What happened to the casting and the creative process to make somebody, and to see something so special in them and be like, this opportunity is going to make you, like, everyone else is just looking around for established stuff. It's like, if you're at a network, you're a network executive. Isn't the job to find somebody amazing? In my opinion, not just because he's a hottie. Come on, Chris Rivas. But I think he could do the job. I think he really sits in the space nicely, just based on what I've seen, his online presence and, podcast interviews and stuff of that nature. Anyways, moving on. Obviously, we got to say Heather McDonald deserves a shot at this. She had her, for one, doing work at the Groundlings all those years ago, having tons of acting experiences as well, and really getting, for the most part, a household name. And she was a real estate agent years ago too. Having a huge name within the Chelsea Handler show. And when that show dropped and ended, it's always hard for some of the people to, where are they going to go? Are you going to get your next break that's of that level? So for her to say, I'm going to believe and bet on myself and create this wonderful podcast called Juicy Scoop, I would just say, I believe, for something like the Late Late Show, bring in somebody funny, bring in somebody with comedy chops, with improv chops, like Heather McDonald. And she's doing it. She's winning. She has such a fantastic platform in terms of the fan base. People really do love her, and she's very smart as well. And I think she'd be great for the job. Now, this one I'm just going to throw at you. You're going to be like, are you crazy? But I'm going to say it because I never really say that a reality star necessarily should pick up the job. But if you've been watching Real Housewives of New Jersey, you will know that a lot of people try to make it like, oh, she's, I love her. She's the I call her the J-Lo of housewives. Bam. Melissa Gorga. And the only reason I'm even throwing this out is because, the recent interviews she's done, in terms of like when some of the interviewers ask her like, oh, what, when your time is done with housewives, what would you like to do? She has stated, I want to get into radio or, continue to build up my podcast, which is quite successful. It's called On Display, such as the song. And she's kind of wanting to go in that direction. I still think she should be on Real Housewives and reality TV with the amazing Joe Gorga for like 10 more years. But if there was a transition, I think she would be great. And I'm not, again, giving the concept of let's just let any reality star do it. She was recently, I believe, an E correspondent, E Entertainment Television, at the Met Gala. So she's already moving and grooving. Like I said, podcast meets, her contributions with her, Envy is the Store. She's done the music. I mean, in this life, you just got to try as much as possible. And to me, she's so quick. Obviously I don't think a network would want to bet all their money on somebody that doesn't have like, comedy or improv skills, like a skill set as somebody, like I mentioned with Heather McDonald. But sometimes you gotta take chances. And again, this episode is literally just about me. We're doing the casting. This is our dream concept in terms of casting. Who do we have next though? The great Michelle Buteau. Yes, I remember going to a bar in New York City when she got her, I don't want to say first, but when she got one of her Comedy Central specials. And I remember it because now people don't really get excited about a Comedy Central special because everything's like Netflix or streaming or YouTube even. Michelle Buteau, we had originally met. Who's we? I'm talking me. I originally met Michelle Buteau in Los Angeles years ago at a hosting class that I worked at that office. And Michelle was like, such a superstar. I believe she was coming off Last Comic Standing. And it's been so great to see her career go. Her personal life too, in terms of I believe she adopted her children, and she's got a beautiful marriage. And I just feel like, and I'm not the only one, because she's so fantastic. I mean, the show that she really, I don't want to say blew up on, because as long as you're working, it doesn't matter how successful the project is. So she's done a ton of things, but the show that really helped was The Circle. She was the voiceover artist, and I believe she did the reunions and stuff, or something like that. So the great Michelle Buteau, I mean, obviously, like, there's nobody funnier, there's nobody quicker. And like I said, getting to see her in class years ago when she was already a success. So it was just, she was honing her skills, I would say. That's like, she's bankable in my opinion. I mean, as is almost everyone I'm saying. Well, and now why don't I talk about some people that are, not necessarily these big names, but I should also throw in the hat, because why not? My co-host on one of my podcasts, obviously I've got several. So Russell Raymond, the reason we would throw him in the hat is because he actually is making his way up into the world of hosting. When the Peacock streaming platform began, the photo here that we're looking at, we do a silly recap on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And we started by doing one on the Real Housewives of Miami. So it's just like a playful, fun podcast. I mean, it's all in fun. But my good friend Russell is, again, what did I say? The networks. It's like always about, let's just hire Kevin Hart again. Let's hire Nick Cannon again. And that's all wonderful. But like, there's some talent out there. And I feel like that's the job. Like, the job is to find something amazing that maybe people aren't really hip to just yet. So anyways, within Russell, we'll put the photo up again. I mean, we have such a good time. I do encourage you to go to youtube.com/randomly Ronnie Jr. And you can link out to his stuff as well. But he was a host on Peacock Streaming's Create the Escape. And what was good about that is, like what I said previously, you've got to have different skill sets. You cannot be, you got to be multifaceted. He was the design expert on a series called Create the Escape. So Russell is fantastic. Look him up, Russell Ray Silva. And of course, if you're checking out our show, it's all linked at randomlyronniejr.com as well. We make it nice and easy. Moving along, we're going to end the episode soon, but I wanted to say, if we're going to profile another YouTuber, this is nobody that I know personally. Of course, I know a lot of the people that are in the space. The really fantastic YouTube and podcaster types. This one I don't know. I don't know him at all, but when I was coming out of traditional radio, it was very, and I'm still involved, but it was really hard to do what I wanted to do, but the space was a little bit more, I felt messy. It felt like a lot. So it's always been really nice. And there's a ton of people I could give this next credit to, but specifically him. It's really nice when you can find people that are in that YouTube podcast space and they run their entire brand and business very professional, very next level. Like, I mean, here, and we'll put him up right now. This is Kempire is fantastic. He's one of the best to do it. And in fact, obviously, just again, remember when Wendy Williams was kind of taking some time off that last season and no one really knew what was happening? Well, what did they do? All they did was bring in household names already, which I totally get, but I encourage you. And it was something that flashed through my mind respectfully, because I'm like, this guy is really, really good. Kempire should be somebody that could be at least auditioned, within the level of a Wendy Williams, which is such a compliment. And I'll tell you why I give that compliment, because it's one thing to be on the sidelines and not be in it. Again, my not claim to fame, but the work that I did was always production, working behind the scenes in television or radio, but coming into the digital, oh no, it really tells you quickly who you're like looking at sideways, like, oh, that's so your integrity's that's lame, but a lot of lame stuff is winning. And then you see somebody as successful and as intriguing and such a great communicator as Kempire, who I believe worked in the music industry to a degree, so he kind of music management, he's already been with it. Anyways, I am the best when it comes to casting. I never fail. I always know who's hot and who's about to make that move. So you should always trust me. As we wrap the show, I also got to say, we've got to say and send a little love to Jonesy. So Miss Jones is somebody that actually in the current day to day, I've been getting to work with. 94.7 The Block is a radio station out of New York City. What's fascinating about Miss Jones is she did music prior, and then she moved into radio and had such a great run at Hot 97 and some of the radio stations in Philly, and kind of stepped away from the industry. As we all need moments to ourselves, stepped away from the industry, took care of her children, and reshifted, for some years, and is now back. The radio station is really, really the playlist that, I mean, if you're my age, I'm an 80s baby. I'm an 80s Virgo. This is what it is. And so the playlist at 94.7 The Block is fantastic. And the last interesting thing is she has so much to speak on. Sometimes in the what would you call it? The headlines, they would say like shock jock or whatever, but I don't think she was a shock jock. She knew how to go there. So it's really cool to see, and to see her reshift all these years later. And then again, the limited role that I have on the show is so fun too. So if we're thinking about people that could be potentially casted for like this big late show, and or if we want to get rid of the Drew Barrymore show, and or if we want to get rid of the Sherry Shepherd show, because goodness, those shows are so boring. How could anybody watch them? I understand there's some success because the shows are up. So if they're up and running, people are going to want to go there and promote. But where I say we got to rock with Miss Jones. And by the way, she's got a new song. She hasn't had a song in 20 plus years. She's kind of, like I said, done the radio thing, motherhood. There's a lot in life and you can grab from everything. Her new song is called Calling All Ladies. So I definitely want to shout that out. I didn't really get too much into, and I said I wasn't because it's not really my level of expertise. I didn't really get too much into The Daily Show. So go into the comments and tell me who you think would be good at that. In my mind, I was like, maybe they can't use somebody that's already been in that world. But to me, what is it? She was on that show I loved, the Hulu series with Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. Dulce Sloan, I think is the name. I think she'd be wonderful. We loved Hassan on his Netflix series. So, but I don't know, was there some stuff that went on with that? I don't know. But these are some really talented people. So I just wanted to use this episode really, really quickly. And I know I'm talking quickly. Why do I have this photo lined up? Oh, because I always talk about the Housewives and I say that Kyle from the Housewives is overrated. And that's the photo that I use. What do I know? Anyways, we were here, we were talking about it, and we hope that you, who is the we? Who is the we? It is just me, and yet I'm talking as if it's this is what we think. This is what I think. Anyways, if you love talk shows like I do me a favor. Let me know the talk show that really moved you and inspired you. Obviously, there's been so many. I think one of the things I really loved was watching Johnny Carson when I was younger and seeing, who was it? Ed McMahon was right there on the couch too. It was just in a different way. Now everything's so segmented and it's so quick and it's so, trying to appease this so-called low attention span, which I don't really believe in. That I love the old school of talk show where the crowd, the rumble of the crowd, and the timing and you wait a beat and then you pick it up, you extend the mannerisms to keep the joke rolling. One of the best ones I've ever seen was and we got to shout out the ladies, Calling All Ladies, the wonderful Lucille Ball and Betty White. I mean, it was a masterclass. Have you seen the clip? Go look up the clip. Betty White and Lucille Ball, and it's that old school, just razzing the next one. It's good. Anyways, if there's anyone I named left off the list, I am sorry. I will think of other names. I do have a lot going on today, but I wanted to stop down and do the episode. I am out of here. Let's just find my outro, and we will talk again. All success and much love to James Corden on the next endeavor. Didn't love your last show, but he was still a success. We got to show the love. Jimmy Kimmel, when you're ready to move it along and finish up from being radio to talk show superstar, I will just go ahead and take over, because my resume is good. And whatever happens with The Daily Show, whatever happens with Comedy Central, where are they trying to go? These are all the questions. We'll talk next time. This has been #randomly with Ronnie Jr. If you are on the YouTube or Twitter or any of the spaces, really, type in hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. and you can see all my stuff. I gotta go. Bye.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.